Hello and welcome to another video by Adrian David from Cure Electric. In this video, I'm going to be talking to Lizzie from the Solent Apprenticeship Hub. And what the Solent Apprenticeship Hub do is they bridge the gap between the employers, the apprentices, and the training providers. And they provide that much needed resource in the middle to help everybody join up and fill in the gap. But one of the things that I find is that employers, there's a lot of misinformation out there, or information that's old, and they don't know what's available to them. A lot of them don't know about the £3,000 incentive, I believe is running till September this year, is it?
Yes, yeah.
Exactly. So they don't know about that. They don't know how it works. They feel like they're going to be tied in for the whole of the apprenticeship. And I was hoping that you could talk us through some of that.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So let's have a look here. So did you want to go through the incentives first, or because there's even now funding available sort of pre-incentive, because a lot of smaller companies don't know about obviously levy paying, non-levy payers, and what funding there is available to even get the course going as a start.
Yeah.
So if we start from that bit,
okay.
You've got, so obviously I've put together a Word document for you.
Perfect.
Which has all the links I'm going to talk about now. Okay. It's just so obviously they've got a short version to sort of go there. So it's the incentives bit first, but the financial support ways in terms of getting an apprentice. Let me just open this link. Do most companies know about levy and non-levy?
No, it's a real nightmare. And then the problem is that come September, they think, oh, do you know what? The academic year starts. I'll take on an apprentice.
Yeah. And
then they find out, well, now you need to set up a
beautiful DAS account.
Yeah, it's an account. You have to set up an account, and then you have to link it to your PAYE, and then there's a whole process that has to happen, which is not hard, but it just needs someone
knowing where to go to get that link.
It needs someone to talk them through it. But and then again, the training company can't get the funding until all of that is sorted out. So what we need to do as well is we need to get employers to realise, look, if you want to take on an apprentice in September, that's great. However, a couple of months before that, get yourself ready so it's less stressful for everybody involved.
Yeah, so first things first, they need a DAS, even if they get funding to even pay for the course itself. Even if you're non-levy or levy, no matter who you are, if you want to take on an apprentice, you have to have a digital apprenticeship service account, nicknamed DAS. So I don't know why, but all I think of is the washing powder.
The washing powder advert, yeah.
So with the digital apprenticeship service, I put the link on the Word document for you as well. So basically you need you need a PAYE reference number and also your accounts number, which they should be able to get from either if they've got payroll or if they've got an accountant. They should be able to get those numbers. I've got the link. So all you do is you follow the link, you literally press register, put your details in, your email address. You have to be registered with Companies House and they have to match the title. And then you put in those numbers and then you're linked. So once you've got that digital apprenticeship service account, you're good to go with whatever, with hiring an apprentice, getting funding for it. And that's how you apply for your incentives. It's all through that DAS account.
So if you have to be registered with Company House, do you have to be a limited company?
No, and there's charities on there, there's sole traders on there, there's limited companies on there. It just has to be what you're registered under. It can't be, say, if you've got a building company and then you trade under something else, it has to be what you're registered under.
Right, got you.
You like a nickname, it has to be what you're registered.
I guess the reason for that is because it's government funding money, it's public money effectively. They have to be accountable for where it goes. Make
they
sure
want to be able
goes.
to track it as well. So they just want to be able to track who's hiring, is the apprentice, are apprenticeships working, what standards are they using, where are they getting their money from? Because what happens is if you're a non-levy payer, which is predominantly smaller to medium enterprises, because you have to have, if you're a levy payer, you have to have a pay bill over 3 million. So if you are a non-levy payer, you only pay 5% of the training cost. The government paid 95%, and that comes out monthly, and that's done through the DAS. So if you are a levy payer, you pay 10% of that, and then that comes out of your levy paying fund. But again, it all goes through the DAS anyway.
Which isn't a lot of money. I mean, to give you an idea for anyone watching this, for the electrical apprenticeship that we deliver, it's 5%, which works out at £900 plus the VAT. Which and how long does it take to pay that amount? Is it over the 3
duration of the course?
Yeah, so if it's a 3-year course, it's £900 plus the VAT over that course of that time.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of employers will be looking to pass that cost on to the apprentice. Are they allowed to do that?
I don't think they are. If I'm honest, that question has, I think they try to do that because they are worried if it doesn't work out, what happens if worst case scenario, you know, and things like that. But it is from the business.
Because I think it's also worth noting, and my understanding is that if they take the apprentice on, but then let them go, they still have to pay that £900 plus the VAT, that 5%.
Well, that stops if they were to stop that apprenticeship.
Yep.
Say for whatever reason, they wouldn't have to then continue to then pay it.
Right, got you. Okay.
It is a bit, they would have to obviously take the hit of what they've already paid if from previous. But the hopes is now that we can get it so right that they do stay with that company, at least for the duration of their course, because they're under no obligation at the end of that course to offer them a full-time position, to put them onto a high level apprenticeship. They can just say, right, you've finished your apprenticeship, we don't have a full-time position available, but we will give you all the resources there are to help you find a position in whatever field you want to. So there is that option as well. But what they tend to do is, if it really isn't working out, they go back to their provider, so whoever it is, if it was the local college or if it was a private provider, they say, look, this isn't working out for us at all, they're just not a company fit, then they can actually transfer that apprenticeship to the next company they go to. So they don't feel like, yes, obviously they should be showing them loyalty as an individual, but they can show them loyalty and they can try as hard as they can, but as we all know, sometimes personalities just clash.
Things just don't gel, do they?
Yeah, it's round peg, square hole sort of thing. So sometimes you can go back to your provider and say, look, can we find them somewhere else to go? Yeah,
because again, you know, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups listening to what employers say, and a lot of them are worried that if they sign up, they're then tied in for 4 years with an apprentice, you know, and I explained to them, obviously, we don't want you to let them go because we want it to work. You know, you don't want to just use them as cheap labour and hire and fire them as and when. But don't feel like you're tied into that for the full duration, because if it really isn't working, you need to know that you can say, do you know what, this isn't working. And then I think for the apprentice as well, am I right in saying that if they get sacked, they only get 4 weeks to find another employer? And if they get made redundant through no fault of their own, then they get 12 weeks to find another employer.
That is correct, yeah. From the stuff I've read up from before, that's what we've sort of gone by.
Got you. So a couple of questions then is, where would employers find apprentices, and vice versa, where would apprentices find employers?
So in terms for employers, it's really, we try to go through either a lot of schemes, it depends, but in terms of electrical as well, try and get into the local colleges or the local providers that do that course either as a vocational course at college level, and then say, right, we would like to come into the college. We've got the X amount of electrical students. We want to interview them because we want to take on 1, 2, 5 electrical apprentices. So we want to come into the college, we want to do interviews with them, and then we want to offer them apprenticeship out of those interviews. That's one thing that is a great resource that I know a couple of local colleges and local providers use with some local companies around the area. The other one is, so they should, when they go through a provider, they say, look, we would like to hire an apprentice in September. Let's go from there, let's get it recruited for. The provider would recruit for that, put it on Indeed, put it on all the job boards, put it on the National Apprenticeship Service, and do the pre-screening and send it to them. They can put the advert on their own website and things like that, but the provider should really be driving that and making sure that the advert's getting out there, getting the candidates in, seeing their CVs, pre-screening them before even sending it to them to say, look, we've even spoken to these people already. We think they're great to what you've told us about would fit your company.
Yeah.
So
now,
there is that way.
Employers obviously they're probably pushed for time, especially if they're sort of one-man bands and that kind of thing. I've been there myself, and you don't, very pushed for time. So is there a website where it lists training providers in your area that have the qualifications you're looking for?
So if you go to, if I show you, one I prepared earlier. I just brought it up here.
Because again, one thing with employers, if it's not easy, then it's more hassle than it's worth. So it needs to really be simple. So I can just go on to the Institute of Apprenticeships and Technical Education, for instance, type in electrical installation, and then that will come up with the apprenticeships that are available. So here we've got the installation electrician and maintenance electrician, which is the course that we do. It's a level 3 course over 42 months. The maximum funding available is 18,000. So that's to be able to install, maintain and repair electrical systems in industrial, commercial and domestic environments. So that's definitely the one that we do. It's a level 3 course. That is the right course for electrical apprentices. So they can come on here, they can have a look through. No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Find apprenticeship training providers that deliver this standard.
Okay.
So once you click onto here, I would then say, where should we use, Southampton or?
Oh, yeah, wherever.
Yeah, let's use Southampton as an example. Apply filters. And then all here is all the training providers that deliver that course.
Gotcha.
So we've worked with Babcock in the past, Fareham College, we've worked with them in the past, Peter, Bournemouth and Poole, Basingstoke. It all depends obviously whereabouts, but a majority now obviously due to COVID, a lot of them are national and will deliver it remotely.
Yes.
But yes, so anything down there. So say for example, we were to use, let's use Fareham. So Fareham's here, it tells you, as an employer, it's quite interesting to see because you can see their pass rate.
Yes.
Got reviews on there. It's they come to the workplace, it's day release and block release. So it can be, it can have a block time period in there and 1 day a week at college. And then when you click into that, gives the provider overview, everything there is to know about the college and even an email address to get in touch. Now, us as a Solent Hub, we always say, this is where we bridge that gap. So if an employer, as you say, they're strapped for time and it's one-man band, they don't necessarily have, a few spare hours to search through the internet of what standard they need, where are they going to go, how far away is it? So we would then say, right, we can help you out, no worries with that, come to us, what you're looking for, what job is it? What apprenticeship title are you looking for? Then we go away, find the standard, find a couple of providers because we're an impartial service, and then we just give them here's the standard that would match that job role, here's a couple of providers, see which one you think, and then we make the referral.
Gotcha.
And then that's how we can link them that way. So that's how this is a big way we come into this as a hub, because we cover the whole of the Solent region, and we also have the Hampshire Skills Hub as well, which then covers the sort of rest of the side that way, across Hampshire. So yeah, this is one of the biggest ways that we come in as a service, because we know that it is time consuming, and we have the contact already, and we go by providers that are part of a bigger website called, it's an organisation called ALFI. It's basically an association of providers. So if they're part of this group, and we know that they've got good background, that they've got good, we can get all the information we need about them. So we only refer to providers that are part of this ALFI group, which majority of them are, and they definitely should be, because it's an absolute great way to get your data and figure out who's using apprenticeships and things like that, and which providers are using. But yeah, so that I guess as well is that you kind of get a feel for these companies as well. So if you get companies that are a lot more savvy than the rest, and they keep the apprentices on and they don't have any problems, you get a feel for that. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way for us to keep in touch, and obviously where we're We are government funded. We are, funded by Southampton City Council. It's a fantastic way for us to feed back information to local councils and say, look, this is what your area looks like for apprenticeships. This is who's using, this is who knows about it. Because this information is just so hard to get to sometimes.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. But one thing is, how far do you go? What's your area?
So I cover, for example, New Forest, Eastleigh, and all the surrounding areas. I've done a few in Bournemouth and Poole. Yeah. I go to as far as that way. My manager Sarah, she is Southampton, Fareham and Gosport surrounding areas. Jamie, he's Portsmouth. And then you've also got the Hampshire Skills Hub, which is, it's called something different, but we both come under the Solent Apprenticeship Hub. Okay. They cover the rest of Hampshire, which I do believe goes up to, let me just get it here. Jamie does Portsmouth and Isle of Wight, actually.
Okay.
And then you've got the other side, so Staines-on-Thames, Egham, Chertsey, Cobham, East Hants, Winchester, Test Valley, Guildford, Woking, Godalming, Basingstoke and Dean, Hart and Rushmore.
So you do quite a block. You do quite a block, pretty much from Isle of Wight and Portsmouth to Bournemouth, that and all the way up. Yeah, pretty much. And then for anyone outside of that area, would there be other things, companies like yourself doing the same thing?
There should be their local enterprises that should help them. The biggest advice I would give if they don't have our service, I mean, we're always going to help. Like I was helping someone in London the other day and said, look, go to your local college, go to your local university, and say, look, this is what we're looking to do. Bigger, that's probably the biggest thing. Local council is one of the biggest ones as well, because they should have a service that will help them and say, right, if you're looking at these apprenticeships, you need to go and speak to this college, this university and this provider, and they should help you out. So it's definitely, if they can't get in touch with us to help make that link, then yeah, definitely local council.
Perfect. And in your experience, I mean, who takes on the most apprentices? Is it levy paying people or non-levy?
Don't get me wrong, levy paying companies who are massive, they do take on quite a lot of apprentices, and they tend to do it so that they'll take a cohort each year. So they'll say we'll take 10 on this year, 10 that year. But more and more now it is the smaller to medium enterprises, it is those one-man bands, especially in construction and electrical and things like that, who they will take on their apprentice, they'll see them through their apprenticeship, say thank you very much, and they'll go off and make either their own business or then they'll be a partner. And then they'll then hire another one the following year, train them up, and then say, thank you, that you go off, either make your own business and do that stuff. And we're seeing a lot more of that now.
When I was looking on the apprenticeships.gov website, it was also saying on there that employers can also train up their current staff.
Yeah, upskilling is huge. And I'm a really big advocate for upskilling, because you don't have to take on a new recruit to do apprenticeships. It might it's a bit different with the incentives there, because a lot of them are taking on a new apprentice to get the incentive. But then if you've got current staff, so in my previous role, I was apprenticeship sales, but then they wanted to put me on a sales executive apprenticeship, just to make sure that my skills are matching the job I'm doing. Because a lot of companies, you can find them, I had a little search on Google for another company, do a skills gap analysis. So you ask your current staff, what do you think you do your job well? What do you think you're missing? What do you think would help you, progress in your job role? So, for example, an IT technician who is hoping to be an IT supervisor or manager, they can actually do a leadership and management course with an IT background. So it's not just right, you're doing leadership and management and it's going to be as broad as what everyone else. There are now providers out there who say, right, no, we specialise in IT and we specialise in leadership and management with IT.
Wow, that's incredible. And then they would just pay the 5% or 10% depending on whether they're levy or non-pay.
Yeah, so they can pay that. And we're doing a big drive at the moment because we do a scheme called Transfer to Transform. So with your levy, if you're a big company and you're paying into your levy, you just accumulate this money. And you can't use it for anything else. It has to be used for those training costs, for apprenticeships, for other training costs and things like that. So at the end of it, they could have a lot of this levy left, and say they've only got capacity to hire 1 or 2 apprentices. They've got this pot of money that goes nowhere at the end. They don't get that money back. So they're like, well, we don't want to lose out on this money. We want to help smaller to medium enterprises. So we've done the transfer transform scheme, where we get larger companies to pledge us their over levy, and then we then give that to smaller companies so that they don't even have to pay the 5%.
I've heard about this. I mean, that's an amazing incentive right there, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I guess this is where you come in, isn't it? Because you bridge that gap. Me, if I was an employer, I wouldn't know about this stuff. I wouldn't know about the options that were there, or even how to go about it. And by the time I've even switched the laptop on and done a few Google searches, I'd be bored by then and then move on. So that's an amazing thing that you guys are providing. Okay, is there anything else on your list that you wanted to talk through?
So in terms of individuals finding apprenticeships. Okay. Now, I've just done a piece of work around on Indeed. So yes, you can definitely go on Indeed and go, search apprenticeship, and there'll be absolutely everything that pops up. But then the biggest tool that I didn't know about when I was back in school, I didn't know that you can actually go on MyGov and go to the National Apprenticeship Service, and it says find an apprenticeship, and then there's a list of all these things on there. So as individuals, there's that way. I think the biggest thing now is going into schools, colleges, and trying to educate these people of their next steps. That's obviously for new recruit, but then upskilling as well. A lot of people don't know, oh, I've been in my job for 4 years. Can I still do an apprenticeship? Of course you can do it whenever you want. There was a stigmatism that it was only 16-year-olds or 18-year-olds that could do it. No, you can be whatever age you want. You can do an apprenticeship. If you're 45 and think, do you know what? Yeah, I want to do a leadership and management, because they may already be in a management role, but they're lacking, conflict management within the team, or how to motivate their team members, and how to communicate effectively and things like that. So that's where the upskilling comes in really well as well. So it's obviously educating.
Well, that's an amazing tool, isn't it, for any company to have, because you might have some really good staff, but they're just missing a few key things that would make them, amazing, And in that way, everybody wins, doesn't it? Because the staff get uptrained, the company benefit, the person benefits. That's really good. And then, we haven't really spoken about the funding that's available. So did you want to quickly talk through that as well?
Incentives or,
the incentives for employers,
Yep, so incentives for employers for hiring a new apprentice. Whoever takes on a new apprentice between now and I do believe it's September, just double check that. Yeah, September, you get £1,000 regardless.
Yep.
Now, if your apprentice joins from the 1st of April 2021, which they will do, if they're a new recruit, you will receive £3,000 for a new apprentice of any age who join your organisation between the 1st of April 2021 and the 30th of September 2021.
Wow.
So that is great.
I didn't realise it was for any age either. I thought that was just up to a certain age. So that's incredible.
So that is who join the organisation from the 1st of April. Now, that's paid into, because I've put the link on there as well of the incentives for you as well. However, with the incentives, that gets paid to them by backs payment, and that can be used for spend it on support for the organisation costs. For example, uniforms, apprentices travel, or help towards their salary, and you don't have to pay that back.
Yeah.
Now, it does tell you the eligibility, so you can just definitely make sure that when you apply, that you were due to get it. Now, when you'll get paid, so they have to verify the company, which they have put in there, can take up to 3 months. They might be in contact with you. That generally takes a lot quicker than that, because it's going through the DAS service anyway.
Yeah.
They'll do the payment in 2 equal instalments for each apprentice. So the first payment sent after an apprentice completes 90 days of their apprenticeship, and then the rest is sent after 365 days, so a year.
Yeah.
So that'll be split between those two there. And as I say, that'll be made by backs payment. So yeah, split into 2, first bit after 90 days, second bit after a year.
And I'm guessing that the college that the apprentice is enrolled with, they'll help them through this process anyway, because I know the training provider that I work with, we have business support people, coordinators, that then work with that business to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and everything runs as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer help with the DAS and can talk them through setting up and things like that. But when they go through their provider, they will say, like, okay, so this is when you have to apply for your incentive, and this is how you do that. Make sure you put in this information and things like that. So they'll definitely, whoever they do their apprenticeship with, should and would definitely help them through that process. Yeah.
Fantastic. And can I just ask if you've got our training provider on your books? Because I work for Steve Willis Training, and we've got a place in Fareham as well.
Yes, yeah. So I think we worked loads with Steve Willis in the past. Okay. And when I worked at Fareham College, we did subcontracting apprenticeships with Steve Willis as well. So I think they are definitely on our provider list. I think Sarah is the contact for that one. It might be Sarah or Jamie. But yeah, definitely worked with Steve Willis before.
Perfect.
Thing that I thought would be good to mention as well. I don't know if you've heard about the traineeship scheme at the moment. So traineeships are quite new. They actually came out last year or earlier this year. No, yeah, it was last year. Traineeships are brilliant, actually. They're a really good way to get that that sort of fresh individual into the company. So it's a 10-week program. They spend 6 weeks in the classroom learning basic skills, digital skills, emails, calls, etiquettes, things like that. And general work-life traineeship sort of thing. And then they spend 4 weeks on placement. Right. So that could be anywhere, and any employer can take part in this. So with traineeships, it's basically a skills development program. So I say, it includes 6 weeks. It can take up to a year, but the ones I've worked with are 6 weeks and then the 4-week placement. It's basically to help 16 to 24-year-olds or 25-year-olds with an education to get ready for an apprenticeship or job if they don't have the appropriate skills or experience. So they're basically getting those core skills and experience onto an apprenticeship.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So even before they've started, they can get some training in place to help them be an asset to the company and improve their chances. Yeah, and then they're also then in the system to then be supported into an apprenticeship.
Yeah, and you can take,
that's amazing.
You can take 10 on at a time if you want to. Yeah. You take up to 10 and you actually get £1,000 per trainee.
Wow, that's incredible.
So you don't have to pay, you don't pay them during this placement.
Yeah.
So it's completely free to the employer.
Yes.
They take them on for 4 weeks. And then, so I think we had a business before who took 10 on and said, right, okay, I think it was like warehouse operative. They had 10 of these learners in their business. And for the 4 weeks, they did, basic skills. They were in their company learning how to be at that entry level in the hopes to then say if it was a warehouse operative apprenticeship, in the hopes to then be offered the apprenticeship. Now, the biggest question we get then is, well, so are we taking these people on and we have to give them a job? No, no way, absolutely. If they, after the 4 weeks, you think, okay, 2 of you are fantastic, we want to offer you 2 the apprenticeship, then you can. With the other ones, you can, all you have to do is an exit interview, and you still get they have to complete their 4-week placement to get the incentive. Yep. You just have to do an exit interview with them at the end and say, thank you for this, and this is where you can improve, and then they can then refer them back to either ourselves or the local college that they've come through, and then they will then help them get an apprenticeship elsewhere. They can either offer them an apprenticeship, or they don't even have to offer them an apprenticeship. If they think, you know what, actually, we can straight up offer you a job. Yeah. You don't have to do the apprenticeship, they can.
Well, I mean, that's incredible, really, if you think about it, because that gives an employer an opportunity to try before you buy. Yeah. So you can see what someone's about, see if they've got the initiative to actually do the job and whether they gel. And if they do, then you've already sussed them out, and you can say, yes, we can give you the job. And if it doesn't, then how many times could they theoretically do that, though? Could they try out 10 not like those 10 and say, have you got another 10 that we can try?
I do think you can do up to 10 learners, just as more guidance will follow, but we've had it before where they've done it on that course.
Yes.
They've seen those people through the end of that course.
Yes.
And then they've said, right, we want to then see the next people.
Right.
And that this is where we're just getting to now, because where it was done last year,
Yep.
they're just now getting to the point now where I think they're in discussions of, right, okay, so if we want to do this again, can we?
Again, talking to people on Facebook, one of the biggest things that employers are worried about is taking on somebody that A, is going to be a burden, cost them more money than they make them, you know,
Yeah.
and then they then have difficulty getting rid of them, because once they employ them, they're then stuck with them, and it's really difficult to move them on. So again, that would be a great way of employers freeing up their, you know, feeling a bit freer in their choices, you know.
It's having that flexibility, and it's almost like you're just taking them on for a 4-week work trial.
That is amazing. I really actually like the sound of that. I'm going to have a look at that.
Well, I've put the link on there for you, and then at the bottom of that link, it then says how to get started.
Okay.
So then how to sign up to that program. We've all been in that position where we've hired people and they seem great, and then I think when I was working in hospitality, you know, you have someone start and then 2 days later they just don't turn up.
Yeah, they're off sick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a sort of, it's a better way for employers, because especially when you take on a new start, just as a new start, you have to go through all of their onboarding, all of their training, you go through all of these time, effort and resources, and then they just don't turn up or they go off sick.
And there's all that cost involved as well.
Yeah, you can see somebody's loyalty, or you can see somebody's buy-in to your company after the first 4 weeks. So once you see that in someone, you can definitely then offer them a position or apprenticeship, or just say, thank you for your hard work for your 4 weeks, because the individual has to complete that 4 weeks to complete the traineeship course.
Yep.
And the point of doing that is because they don't have the core skills or experience to go straight onto an apprenticeship anyway. So really, if they don't turn up and they don't complete the course, then they're the ones that lose out, because they're not going to get onto an apprenticeship or get a job. And
like you say as well, they do that training before they even go into that. Yeah. So they're giving themselves the best opportunity, the best chances of actually making that work. And I mean, that's incredible. And again, you know, my wife always says nothing's ever wasted. You know, they may do that and try it and it might not work, but they'll learn from that, and then it might work next time.
And at least then they have that traineeship qualification.
Absolutely. And that sounds like a more positive way for both sides, both the people learning and the company, to try something different, isn't it?
Yeah. The hopes is it's the natural progression. It's I mean, in the ideal world, we would say, right, you take on a trainee, then after 4 weeks, let's offer them an apprenticeship. And then after the apprenticeship, you offer them a full-time position.
That's incredible. Yeah, good. Well, thank you very much for bringing that up as well. That's amazing.
That's my pleasure.